So today's episode of SmackDown is brought to you by the word wanker. It's very much a European and Australian insult, and given that a lot of Americans don't know what it means, well, it means masturbation. That's right, I'm not playing around here. I just thought I would tell you as directly as possible. I mean, don't blame me, I am just a bald messenger. Also, hello my friends, and welcome to Ups and Downs for WWE SmackDown, the only wrestling review show you need because I watch wrestling so you don't have to. And thank you very much for NordVPN. They have the deal for you. You can click it right down there in the description right now, or go to nordvpn.com/WhatCulture. But it's basically a super deal that is not only going to give you more time on your subscription, but when you work it all out mathematically, you're essentially paying less than $3 a month. Listen, when you do use a VPN, you're able to use services and get extra content that maybe you wouldn't be able to get in your region, and maybe that ties into WWE pay-per-view/PLEs. I mean, I don't know. I am just a stupid buffoon. But thank you, NordVPN. Now let's up those downs. So, wankers. That was basically the theme of Cody Rhodes' opening promo, as he did promote Crown Jewel. I should also say, because you're going to see this, and it's on the finger of Power Hand. It's perfectly fine. I dislocated my thumb wrestling, but because I'm a tough guy, I snapped it back in and continued the match, and I'm wrestling this weekend. Am I an idiot? You're damn right. But if you've got to get to the top, you've got to break some thumbs. I actually think that's a quote from a movie. Before all that, Cody was very aware that Seth Rollins is being warped by all this pressure on him heading into the title versus title, but not title versus title match, and the fact that Seth hates the fact that Cody Rhodes calls himself QB1, when Rhodes made it very clear this is a team effort, and he said Seth Rollins is important, John Cena is important, Roman Reigns is important, Jey Uso is important, Rhea Ripley is important, CM Punk is important. He's a good old guy, and he's a good-hearted babyface. It's all about being a collective, and if Seth Rollins loses sight of that, well, he and Paul Heyman shall be walking down the wrong path. Well, yes, the fans started to chant Seth's a wanker, and I think Cody just decided, you know what, I'm going to have some fun. He turned to Michael Cole and he said, would you like to repeat what the fans are saying? And he gave him the microphone, and Mike was like, I can't do that. But you know who stood on ceremony, Mr. Wayne? It was Wade Barrett. Of course, he's from England, and he went, I believe they're saying Seth Rollins is a wanker. WWE needs to do more stuff like this because it felt real, because it was real. And even though, once again, we were talking about touching your special place and using that as a weaponized insult to somebody else, it made you feel warm and fuzzy in your tum-tum. That is the worst time I've ever used that phrase. Cody then finished all this off by saying, let's say you're right, Seth Rollins, and the world does revolve around you. Well, you still can't beat me, Cody Rhodes. So what does that say about you? Now, at first, you'd be like, why didn't Seth Rollins interrupt here? Well, it's because, and we did see this footage on SmackDown too, during the pre-show, whatever you want to call it, when Seth Rollins was out there with the Vision, he got so upset, he left these guys, and Bronson Reed and Bron Breakker especially were like, what are you doing, Seth? Paul Heyman looked at him like he was the cat that did not get the cream. So, of course, all of this is going to tie in. I thought it was very good. And kudos to both Cody and Seth, who have built this up, even though it's a stupid concept that, at Crown Jewel, we have to do this match. But I'm giving it an up. It works. The Secret Herfist then tried to recruit Stephanie Vaquer, and she was like, I don't want to do that. When Tiffany Stratton walked in and also said, nope, she doesn't want to do that. When we got reminded that there is going to be a tag team match later, and how can Tiffany Stratton and Stephanie Vaquer possibly coexist? Well, I'll give you a bit of a spoiler. They just did. Kind of feels like we should have had some fun with it. We did not. The next segment felt well more weighty, though, because Cody Rhodes bumped into Jacob for two, and Jacob essentially said after this Crown Jewel show, maybe I'm going to come after your title, and Cody was like, maybe you should come after my title, when Drew McIntyre beat the crap out of Jacob for two when he was going to have a chat with Nick Aldis. So I would presume that we're probably going to do Drew versus Jacob, and whoever does win that will go on to challenge Cody Rhodes. And even if it is Drew McIntyre, that's perfectly fine, because WWE has just made it very clear we are going to give Jacob a push. He's about to get to the next level. When WWE kept it super simple, because the competitor this week for Sami Zayn's Open Challenge was Shinsuke Nakamura, and this was the real comptroller, the real Shinsuke. He had his old look, he had his old theme, and let's not forget, if we are talking about old, back in 2016, he debuted against Sami Zayn, and even though this match was nowhere near as good as that one, who cares, man? It hit a nostalgia gland. I actually thought this was super duper fun. Fans absolutely loved it too, which is half the battle. And Shinsuke was just kinsashering Sami Zayn all over the place, and we got a bunch of 1-2-oohs. And when Sami went for the sort of most devastating move in all of sports entertainment, the Blue Thunder Bomb, Nakamura got out of dodge because he watches the show and he's learned. Smart cat. Sadly, just as he was about to go for another strike, though, we got another return, and it was a hooded gentleman. So instantly, you're allowed to go, well, it has to be bloodline related, or in this sense, the MFTs, because it was Tama Tonga, which is when Solo Sikoa and his boys descended on the ring. But this totally ruled because everyone saying Solo was wearing the GOD face paint. They looked absolutely badass. They destroyed Shinsuke Nakamura. They destroyed Sami Zayn as they stood there like, we told you we made those video packages for a reason, and now we're back. Do not forget as well that wrestling is a visual medium, and again, they just look so damn badass. And it absolutely ties in, while Jacob Fatu just decided to forget about the US title, Solo Sikoa hasn't, and now he's here for revenge. You always have the whole thing as well that we haven't seen this happen in an open challenge so far, so it did feel different. Still got to put a 1 on the dick board, but having Tama back is a good thing, because now the group have regrouped, which is the dumbest sentence I've ever said. I am giving it an up. This is something you need to go out of your way to see, because me saying it sounds crap. When you see it live and in person, WWE did a damn good job. Nick Aldis then booked Drew versus Jacob for next week on SmackDown, with the winner likely going to become the #1 contender when Jacob Fatu beat up Drew McIntyre. That makes sense. An eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth, a bald head for a bald head. You can't attack anybody in WWE without getting smacked in the face. And I'm intrigued about this feud. It kind of feels like neither of them should lose. That's the secret sauce. As always, the useless wrestling security tried to get involved, but they were useless, didn't do a good job, when it was Tiffany Stratton and Stephanie Vaquer teaming up, and I realized we can call them SAT, which is a terrible name, don't do that, but they were taking on Giulia versus Kiana James. Let me just get my weekly down out of the way. Even if Giulia does use this to challenge Tiffany Stratton on SmackDown, this poor Women's US Championship has been totally forgotten about, and it irks me. You can say, Simon, you're so annoying. But yeah, I know that. I have to live with me. Really though, this all revolved around the fact that Kiana James didn't want to be Devil's Kissed, so eventually Stephanie Vaquer Devil's Kissed her when she got the hot tag to Tiffany Stratton, who ran wild, and these Aussies really liked Tiffany. They went crazy for her. Now, I did make sure that Giulia hit the Arriva Diverci, that's how you pronounce that move, and she had a visual pin when, of course, I can't remember which way around it was now. I think Tiffany Stratton broke up the pin, or maybe it was Stephanie. Either way, though, eventually Stephanie dove on Kiana James to take her out. I've got that wrong too, my God. Stephanie dove on Giulia. That's right. Why do you watch this show? It's absolute pants. When Tiffany Stratton kind of blind tagged herself in, she hit the PME onto Kiana James, and she got the 1, 2, 3. Then they did that thing where one lady held their title belt up, so the other lady held their title belt up, just to remind you, I'm the champion and I'm going to beat you, but even if I lose, I won't be losing my belt. But at the same time, I am going to give it an up. I suppose it was nice that two baby faces were just able to get on, although I still think we should have given them more promo time in the build. And yes, you go, they're not very good at promos, because there's something wrong with you, clearly. The only way to get better is by doing stuff. Still giving it an up. It was perfectly fine. Charlotte Flair and Alexa Bliss then decided that Sol Ruka and Zarya are worthy of a women's tag team title shot, which I believe is going down next week. It's a real shame that we've kind of taken our foot off the pedal once again with these championships. We do it all the damn time, even though the champions usually go out there and do a good job. So, didn't really suck, didn't really do much for me, but it was there, and I saw the match. Well, probably pretty good. When we got more good stuff, because I tell you, these mother flubbing MFTs. But it was the Street Profits taking on the Wyatt 6 for the SmackDown Tag Team titles. And yeah, the Street Profits have done it as well. They've gone back to their old theme. So this is either a company-wide edict, or the Street Profits are about to break up. This was one last hurrah. And given that they did lose here, well, they should probably be on their separate ways. The Profits also had it won at 1.2 with a blockbuster when Nikki Cross put Joe Gacy's foot on the ropes. When everybody was fighting outside, including B-Fab, she was like, Nikki, I don't appreciate that you did do that. And as I am here, we're going to have a fight. Eric Rowan then got in the way when Montez Ford decided this was totally unfair. So he did his crazy wazy dive, so put a 1 on the dive counter. Though actually, this was going to go really bad. Because Dexter Lumis made sure to save his partner, so Montez just crashed and burned. When they threw him back in the ring, they hit the plague and they got the 1, 2, 3. I think this may be the caveat for Angelo Dawkins to be like, you absolute idiot. I can't believe you did do that. Although I don't necessarily need to see Montez and Angelo feud. I think they could remain friends as they do go in their own directions. But this really did feel like a full stop. It was actually the aftermath that was way better, because in the darkness, going back to that visual thing, all of a sudden you saw the MFTs getting on the ringside apron, and because they had the face paint on, they almost look as spooky wooky as the Wyatts. You had one team over here, you had one team over there. Actually, the best part was it was Nikki Cross that got in Solo Sikoa's face when he was like, all right, we will back off, and you should do that. if you are going to have Nikki Cross as a spooky Wookiee, well, she should be able to spook and wook. It just made both divisions feel very structured as well, because if you have so many people in a group, why wouldn't you go after the US Championships as well as the tag team titles? So I really enjoyed this, and within the space of, 25 minutes, we have made the MFTs feel like a threat again. I'm giving this a really big up. And throughout all this SmackDown, the only really typically top star was Cody Rhodes, but it didn't suffer at all because, again, we went back to hardcore stories. Not like that. Up. The Miz then said Carmelo Hayes has totally blown his career by not being a good tag team partner friend. And what we should do here, of course, is Melo should beat The Miz before he too goes after that United States Championship. And this time, he should actually win it. You also saw Seth Rollins getting moody-woody in that press conference, so something is definitely happening later when we got our main event, which was the last man standing match between Aleister Black and Damian Priest. I thought this was excellent, and it ended with a little bit of a twist. That was a shame this wasn't on the pay-per-view, but actually I would assume that more people will see it on SmackDown, and they totally wrecked each other, including this Meteora into Simba the Still Steps, which Damian Priest looked like he'd been beheaded by. Actually, he was just pissed off, and he threw Aleister into the announce table with the razor's edge. This was a really fun fight. Just a little bit brutal. Eventually it was kendo stick time, so of course by this point everybody was trying to answer the 10 count, which are the rules of the last man standing match, when these two went brawling in the crowd, and I laughed out loud for two reasons. Now, one, they climbed up onto a box-like structure and Damian Priest was about to win, when Zelina Vega appeared and she was like, no, please don't do this to Aleister Black, because of course in real life, they are husband and wife, and I like this because, well, Zelina Vega hasn't been doing much of anything recently. They should have good chemistry based on what is happening in reality. And also, do you remember when Zelina Vega was the manager of Andrade? I understand that is a completely different pairing, but she was very good in that role. This was essentially a distraction too to put one on the dick board, because of course she was becking when Aleister Black clearly had a plan and put one on the crime counter because he got a piece of fire paper and he blew these flames into Damian Priest's face. He then gave him the black mass. Poor Damian fell all the way to his death, essentially, through a table. He wasn't able to answer the 10, and Aleister Black not only won, but him and his wife, Zelina Vega, seemed very happy about this, which was interesting, because Zelina went from, oh no, I can't believe it, to, he's dead. My favourite part about all of this, though, actually is reference to my DMs. I had so many the last couple of weeks going, Simon, WWE would never use fire in relation to AEW using fire. Well, it turns out they would, so thank you very much for the death threats. You were totally wrong. Here's my hot take on it, quite literally. WWE should use fire, AEW should use fire. No matter what wrestling promotion you are, you should just be trying to have the most fun possible, because then we, the fans, have the most fun possible. That is the whole point of this stupid medium. So this really was great, though, and actually felt like we were moving things forward. I suppose if you were going to write it in headline form, Zelina Vega and Aleister Black just went heel. I mean, beforehand, Aleister kind of felt like he was being a bit of a tweener, but I am going to give it an up, and you could probably make the prediction that Lola Vice could join Damian Priest, and we are headed in this direction. I'm pretty sure they are dating, and listen, Lola Vice could be called up right now from NXT. She's got the goods, so yes, all of this was great, and it was a top end to SmackDown. There are all these rumors this week as well that maybe the WWE had changed the creative team, although they made it clear that Road Dogg was still on top. But who the flub cares, man? That's just a rumor. You have to take it with a pinch of salt. Ultimately, maybe everyone just sat down and said, okay, SmackDown's been fine, but let's make it absolutely rollickingly good, which is not a term. That's what this was. It's given it up, and it is worthy of your time. Now, of course, please do let me know what you thought about SmackDown last night in the comments below. Like the video, share the video, and subscribe. Click the video on the screen, which is ups and downs for Monday Night Raw, so you can get mad at me there too. Otherwise, enjoy the pay-per-view, which starts in but a few hours. I'll be back with my bald head. Take care. See you then.